Phil Parkinson has just sanctioned a move that sees 10 players depart the racecourse ground in a single window. 10 players. That is not a tweak, that is open heart surgery on a squad chasing a 4th consecutive promotion. When you see legends like James McClean and Elliot Lee walking out that door, you realise the sentimentality of the Hollywood era is officially dead. This isn't just about who arrived on deadline day, it is about the brutal message sent by who was forced to leave. The BBC calls it a clean-up, but looking at the names involved, this feels more like a revolution. We need to talk about this right now because the media reaction, specifically from the BBC, suggests that Wrexham isn't just looking to compete, they are stripping the engine down to the bare metal to make it run faster. This matters because for the first time we are seeing the ruthless side of the project. No one is safe. Not the big money signings, not the fan favourites. If you aren't part of the immediate future, you are history. The headline figures are 3 new signings in the final 24 hours, but the real story, the one that keeps you awake at night, is the void left behind. We are looking at a squad that is certainly leaner, perhaps more fragile, but undeniably more focused. The question isn't just, are the new lads good enough? The question is, have they cut too deep? To understand if this gamble will pay off, we have to dissect exactly who has gone, why they went, and the specific qualities of the 3 men tasked with filling that massive crater in the dressing room.
Let's get straight into the meat of this BBC report, because the details are staggering. The report describes a clearing of the decks by Phil Parkinson, and that phrase does a lot of heavy lifting. When you clear the decks, you are usually getting rid of driftwood. But is that what we are seeing here? The departure of Ryan Hardy is the most glaring admission of a mistake I have seen in a long time. The report explicitly states his Wrexham career never really got going. This is a player who arrived from Plymouth Argyle in the summer for £700,000. 700 grand. In the lower leagues, that is a fortune. To cut ties with an investment of that magnitude so quickly shows a ruthlessness that borders on the terrifying. It tells us that the gaffer is not interested in saving face. If it doesn't work, it goes. Period. But Hardy's exit is just business. The departures of James McClean and Elliot Lee, that is emotional trauma for the fan base. The BBC notes they leave with gratitude ringing in their ears, which is a polite way of saying they have served their purpose and are no longer required for the next level. These aren't just players, these are the architects of the rise. Elliot Lee has been the creative heartbeat of this team. McClean brought that Premier League pedigree and aggression that defined the Red Dragons' recent success. To let them go in the same window as 8 others suggests Parkinson believes their legs or their influence can no longer carry the weight of a 4th consecutive promotion charge. It is a massive gamble on dressing room chemistry. You don't just replace the voices of McClean and Lee, you can replace their stats maybe, but their presence, that is the DNA of the club walking out the door. The media reaction highlights this buzzing gratitude, but underneath the pleasantries, there is a stark reality. Wrexham is evolving faster than its heroes can keep up. The BBC is right to raise an eyebrow. Losing 10 bodies, including key cultural architects, puts a monumental amount of pressure on the incoming trio to hit the ground running immediately. There is no bedding in period when you have gutted the core.
So, who steps into the breach? The first name highlighted by the BBC, and perhaps the most critical for the structural integrity of the side, is Zach Vyner. He was pictured sitting in Wrexham training gear, pen in hand, looking ready for business. This isn't a glamour signing, this is a signing made of concrete and steel. Coming from Bristol City, Vyner brings over 200 championship appearances to North Wales. That number, 200, is the key. We are not talking about a prospect, we are talking about a seasoned campaigner who knows exactly what the second tier of English football demands. The report notes he brings additional leadership and composure to strengthen the backline. With the exodus of senior figures like McClean, that leadership element is not just a bonus, it is a necessity. Wrexham's rise has been built on being potent up top, but to secure a fourth promotion, a feat that is historically almost impossible, you need a clean sheet mentality that borders on obsession. Vyner offers that. He has spent his entire professional career navigating the treacherous waters of the Championship. He knows how to manage a game away at a hostile ground on a Tuesday night. The BBC's analysis here is spot on. They identify that the backline needed strengthening, not just in terms of numbers, but in terms of quality and temperament. Vyner is the antidote to the chaos of a transfer window that sees 10 exits. He is the stabiliser. When you lose the fire of McClean, you need the ice of a player like Vyner. It suggests Parkinson is shifting the defensive profile from aggressive passion to calculated, championship-proven composure. It's a mature signing for a team that needs to grow up very, very quickly to bridge the gap to the final frontier, as the report calls it.
Now, let's look at the other end of the pitch, because this is where Parkinson really earns his money. The report makes a fascinating observation about the gaffer's historical preferences. It states Parkinson has a propensity for those who have been around the block. It lists names like Paul Mullin, Stephen Fletcher, Sam Smith and Kiefer Moore. These aren't kids, they are battering rams. They are strikers who have taken the hits, scored the ugly goals and know how to use their bodies. This context is vital to understanding the new arrivals. Parkinson doesn't usually gamble on unknowns. He likes sure things. He likes players who have scars. That's why the departure of Ryan Hardy is so fascinating. He should have fit that mould, but clearly something didn't click. By listing those names, Mullin, Fletcher, Moore, the BBC is setting the standard. Any attacker coming into the racecourse is measured against these titans. They are measured against the work rate of Mullin and the physical presence of Fletcher. So, when we look at the two new attackers, we have to view them through this specific lens. Are they Parkinson players? Do they fit the mould of being around the block? Or is Parkinson deviating from his own script? The media reaction suggests a blend of both, sticking to the philosophy of experience while injecting a different kind of energy. It's a delicate balance. You cannot simply throw new forwards into this system and expect them to replicate the Mullin magic. But Parkinson clearly feels the current, stocked department needed a fresh dynamic. He is pivoting from pure experience to specific tactical profiles that can unlock defences in ways the departing players couldn't. This brings us to Davis Keillor-Dunn. The report describes him and the other arrival as being at opposite ends of the stop. Let's break down Keillor-Dunn. He's 28 years old. In football terms, that is prime. He isn't a kid, but he isn't a veteran looking for a final payday. The BBC highlights his prolific spells in the lower levels with Barnsley, Mansfield Town and Oldham Athletic. The phrase nose for goal is used, and that is the most valuable currency in football. However, the report rightly points out the challenge. This instinct needs to transfer to the second tier. This is the classic gamble. We've seen it 1,000 times. A player tears up League One or League Two, gets the big move, and then vanishes against Championship defenders who are faster, stronger and smarter. Keillor-Dunn has the numbers, but does he have the quality? Parkinson is betting on hunger here. A 28-year-old who's grafted in the lower leagues has a point to prove. He isn't coming to Wrexham to relax, he's coming to show he belongs at this level. It's a different psychology to a Premier League loanee. The BBC's analysis suggests he's the replacement for the output of the departing forwards, but with a different style. He's a goal-getter, plain and simple. If he can replicate even 70% of his lower league form in the Championship, he'll be a success. But it is a massive if. The step up in quality is brutal. Wrexham is banking on his natural finishing ability being division agnostic.
At the other end of the spectrum, we have Bailey Cadamarteri. This is the wild card. He's only 20 years old. But here's the fascinating twist the BBC identifies. Despite being 8 years younger than Keeler Dunn, he arguably has the edge in terms of relevant experience. Why? Because he has 37 championship appearances under his belt for Sheffield Wednesday. This is a brilliant piece of recruitment analysis. You have the older player, Keeler Dunn, stepping up a level, and the younger player, Cadamarteri, who is already comfortable at that level. Cadamarteri has 6 championship goals. That might not sound like a golden boot tally, but for a 20-year-old in a struggling Sheffield Wednesday side, that is gold dust. It proves he can physically handle the league. He can find space against championship defenders. The report suggests that while Keeler Dunn brings the prolific history, Cadamarteri brings the proven capability at this specific standard. It gives Parkinson options. Do you go with the lower league goal machine or the young, dynamic championship striker? It's a perfect good cop, bad cop situation for the opposition defences. Cadamarteri represents the future, but his 37 appearances mean he is ready now. He isn't a project for the reserves, he's a weapon for the first team. This signing excites me because it adds a dimension of youthful fearlessness that perhaps the around-the-block veterans like Fletcher don't have anymore.
The overarching theme of the BBC's reaction is summed up in one word: leaner. The report compares Wrexham to Derby County, stating they look leaner and perhaps ready to bridge the gap to the final frontier. This is the crucial takeaway. The final frontier is obviously the Premier League. The suggestion is that the squad, as it was too bloated, perhaps too sentimental to make that final impossible leap. By clearing the decks, shipping out 10 players and bringing in 3 high-quality targeted reinforcements, Parkinson has streamlined the operation. A smaller squad can be dangerous if injuries hit, but it can also be more cohesive. Everyone knows their role. There are fewer passengers. The training sessions become sharper because every player there is arguably a starter. The media is recognising that Wrexham has moved out of the collection phase, where they just collected good players, and into the refinement phase. This is a surgical strike on their own squad list. It's risky, incredibly risky to lose that depth, but if the starting 11 is stronger and the immediate substitutes are of the calibre of Vyner and Cadamarteri, then the floor of the team has been raised, even if the ceiling remains to be seen. The leaner Wrexham is designed to be faster, more efficient and less reliant on the individual brilliance of the past heroes who have now moved on.
So, where does this leave us? The window shuts, the dust settles, and we look at the wreckage and the renovations. 3 in, 10 out. Legends gone, 700k signings discarded. It is breathless stuff. The BBC's reaction captures the shock, but also the logic behind the madness. Parkinson is chasing a 4th consecutive promotion, a feat that defies logic, so he is taking illogical, radical steps to achieve it. Zach Vyner brings the shield, Davis Keeler-Dunn brings the sword, Bailey Cadamarteri brings the energy. Are they enough to replace the 10 men who left? Are they enough to replace the soul of James McClean and Elliot Lee? That is the question that will define this season. Wrexham has cleared the decks. They have pushed all their chips into the centre of the table yet again. It's a terrifying time to be a Red Dragon, but it is also exhilarating. The sentiment is gone, the business end is here. And if this lean, mean Wrexham machine manages to bridge that final gap, this window, this brutal, bloody window, will be looked back on as the masterstroke that changed everything.
But if they fail, the silence of those 10 empty lockers will be deafening.